Tony, did you just start recording?
No, that's fine. It's okay. We just need the scorecard. We'll make up the rest of the pod.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
Hello and welcome to Bits and Pieces, the friendliest cricket podcast. Why do we call ourselves the friendliest? Because this is the pod for everyone, introverts and extroverts. The only trouble is the intro words get extra worse, and irrespective of the status of the word I got, the start of this pod gives you what I go. Vertigo? Anyway, the intros on this pod are a nod to the greatest of them all, the legendary Andy Saltzman. And while I try the salts waltz clumsily, I am joined by my very special friends who gather around the breakfast table every Sunday morning to let out some steam. They add not just the pepper to the salts, but also the love and laughter to spice up the warm, cuddle a curry of cricket and relish it with some steam cake. Put to whistle, I say. Did I say stream instead of steam? Well, if we were to pick up the spoon for the steam cake, maybe we can pick up the spoonerism for the stream cake. That is this cricket podcast. That is to say, we are not Star TV, but we never miss an opportunity to tar Stevie. Which Stevie you wonder? Smith or Waugh, as the mood suits us. We are not fan code, but we've been described many as the Khan Ford. My own ears are bleeding, actually. Fan code it seems. Okay, and when we talk about Rishabh Pant on this pod, we don't talk about his skills on the field, but probably also his babysitting abilities. That's right, we are not the Amazon Prime, but the Pram Zone. I'm quickly running out of steam with this one. And so finally, we are not the Sony 10, but the pod where Tony sends the listeners into clutching their hair in despair. To remedy this unfortunate distress, we have a brand new friend on Bits and Pieces. He's not a snake oil salesman, that is to say he does not sell cobra oil, but he's definitely one of the finest copra oil salesmen in the country. He ran a blog called Don Quicksort and is quick to sort out his feet like a Don on the cricket field. He made his mark in the annals of cricket history by consecutively lifting 3 Lodha cups for his building. He raises the coolth of any room he walks into with some premium hair conditioning. Some say we've been searching for him since 2014 because he's Vikas. And so it gives me great pleasure to say Munde Baro Lodha and say hi, Vikas Singh.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, thanks for the wonderful intro.
Vikas was actually only going to join into chide us for not talking about Surya Kumar Yadav's 117 against England earlier this month. Apparently something like that happened, I have no memory. But in a twist emulating Jamie sir, we are going to get him to do a Surya Kumar Yadav and let him open the innings right off the bat. Vikas, over to you to introduce the rest of the panel.
Wonderful, Tony. So I feel like Sultan Zarawani playing Alan Donald in the 96 World Cup without a helmet and some more protection. But anyway, I'll do my best. So back to you. A crazy cricket fan from Kerala who talks, walks and laughs cricket. He has a tattoo of Tinu Yohanan on his back, S. Srisant on his arm and Senju Samson on his other arm, obviously. From his days as an altar boy in Kerala to talking cricket 24/7 on Twitter, he's actually come a very, very long way. He simplifies stuff for his followers, does cricket intros in way no one else can, and discusses Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid's win-loss record way more than he should. Hashtag miss you Shastri, hashtag miss you Kohli. A man so well followed by Indian cricket Twitter and yet so humble that he comes across as just another guy working for TCS. We are obviously talking about Johns Benny, aka Crick Crazy Johns. Obviously, Johns couldn't be here because he's in the West Indies watching the actual T20I series. So we have the next best Mallu who fits this profile. Welcome, Tony Sebastian, aka No T Tony.
Thank you. Very well played.
Thanks. So enough of
crazy Tony.
So enough of gorillas and mists and gorillas in the mists. Amit is a mister who, in his own words, is a proud listener of Gorilla Cricket. He runs a blog called Cricket with Pohe Jalebi, and despite all the references to Pohe and Jalebi and therefore indoor, he's someone who loves spending time outdoors, watching Ranji Trophy matches, sometimes as the lone spectator in the stadium. Please welcome your friendly neighborhood HR, Abhishek Chopra, aka L Chopernos. Welcome, Chops.
Thank you so much, Vikas.
A few things are as synonymous with Bangalore as our next guest on this podcast. He has peaked doing so many things in Bengaluru that he is peak Bengaluru personified. The Chinnaswamy of Bangalore, he builds products and quizzes with equal aplomb. The second most famous Thejaswi from Bangalore South, the one, the only, Thejaswi Udupa.
Hey, to set the record straight, I am not from Bangalore South.
Oh. Thejaswi
Important.
nonetheless. So the other Thejaswi who I segued to is roughly the same age as the number of episodes that we are into. He is 30. Thejaswi Udupa is slightly older, right? No.
Older and wiser.
Wiser, definitely. The benchmarks are very low, by the way. Anyway, from talking of Bangalore playgrounds to the playground of Europe, the brevity of his content, the gravity of his argument, and the gravitas of his voice are stuff of legend. He is the Awaz from CNBC Awaz, the sound from Sound of Music, the baritone from Barry Richard Stone, joining us all the way from Switzerland. Please welcome Srinath Sripat.
Thanks, Vikas. That's a Narendra Hirvani-esque debut. May you go on to have
Play more
a
matches.
Shane Warne-esque career.
No, now it's more fashionable to say Prabhat Jayasuriya debut.
Prabhat Jayasuriya debut, yeah. Udupa doing a left arm spinner knot. Well done.
Superb. Vikas, very well played. Your key contribution in this reminded me of Sanju Samson's brilliant 55, which helped us win that second match against West Indies, which no one watched, by the way. I was probably the only one who was staying up and watching that match.
Crazy Jones was there, Tony. He was at the stadium.
Yeah. No. I'm saying
This is ODI, bro.
the funny thing was everyone saw how he got out and blamed Huda, saying, he got him run out, etc. But actually there was an LBW against Sanju, which they never reviewed, which was 3 reds. So I think he was actually lucky that they're not unlucky. But anyway, let's round up the, action from West Indies quickly before we move on to... Udups, let me throw it to you. What did you see, and any thoughts that you have around the West Indies series?
Possibly with this way too much cricket happening, and this is probably the first series where India is playing where I didn't really have the enthusiasm to watch the entire match live for every match. And also the timings were also horrible, given that matches ended roughly at the time most people were waking up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
This despite them starting at 9 a.m. in the morning or something
But some nice standout things, like Akshar Patel's innings was a great thing. We didn't expect him to out Jadeja.
Yeah, and in the second game, I think we had our 15th opening combination for this year when Surya Kumar Yadav opened with Rohit Sharma. No complaints there. He's a good player. Should get his chances.
Who, Rohit Sharma?
Of course.
Wow, Vikas, literally, was this the reason you got on the pod? Like, this is sky appreciation stuff. Yeah. Usually, sky appreciation means Hussain and Athers on the spot.
Anyway, regardless, given that he was opening the innings, I think he got us off to a fairly brisk start. So it was only a 16 ball 24, but we all know that the first couple of overs are actually where Rohit Sharma struggles, just nudges for ones and twos. So Sky was the main man there. I think for that game, West Indies got the team selection wrong. It was a pitch which was turning almost square from the very first over. We got it right. We played 3 spinners. West Indies probably had only 1 in their ranks. So yeah, brownie points for getting at least a team selection right this time.
I think there was the same match where Nicholas Pooran also decided to try his hand out with bowling and got really dull.
He got 5 for, no?
Once, against Bangladesh. Yeah.
No, Pakistan, right?
Pakistan.
Got all the main guys out with canny off spin.
Can he off spin?
Why are we not talking about the elephant in the room, guys? Like the Trent Bridge to Theni to Trinidad trip of the 2 boys.
Go for it.
Dinesh Carbon, Karthik, and our footprint Ashwin made it to Trinidad all the way from England with a stopover in Dindigul and Theni. Basically, this was like the discussion, right? These guys were talking about how it was in the good old days when DK was still a teenager and joined the Indian team. So they had this BCCI.TV interview where Ashwin is obviously interviewing Dinesh Karthik, who pretty much had the best most impactful performance in the game. And DK talks about how the whole thing is so friendly and whatever, but they somehow don't talk about Dindigul Dragons and what Ashwin did there, which is pretty much the biggest topic in T20 cricket of the last month. But no, man, like really happy for DK to finally do all this, get into the warm-up games of the World T20, hit 2 more 50s, and then we know what happens. So
Wait, what happens? I think he's played, for all that we talk about, he's played like several World Cups, dude. He was there in 2019 also. Very nicely,
Hard to
everyone
keep track
forgets
that, yeah.
when we crashed out to dog shit New Zealand. Dinesh Karthik was also part of that middle order and did absolutely
LBW
nothing.
Bolt.
Very nice narratives everyone builds. But yeah, I think right now he's deservedly in with a good chance, right? Which is not what you can say about KL Rahul, unfortunately. What is... well, someone said that Kaustubh will return to this podcast only when KL Rahul is playing again, which seems like is a good moment to take...
Good prediction.
Yeah. Good time to take stock of all that Kaus has contributed to this podcast and say bye, because KL Rahul doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. He's in fact put out a clarification also saying my surgery went well, just that concatenation of circumstances, concatenation of disasters, whatever it is, but poor KL.
I think at this point KLR is waiting for the cows to come home.
Beautiful.
Which do you think will happen first? KL Rahul coming back or Virat Kohli finding form?
Okay.
Whoa, okay. Very early in the pod.
Not to my face, man. Like, don't touch my face.
I think the other interesting thing about this ODI squad to Zimbabwe was the return of Deepak Chahar, who is coming back after a very long layoff. Yeah.
Hashtag remember him.
Hashtag Zimbabwe.
Deepak Chahar and Washington Sundar is also back in the squad.
Yeah. So generally people coming back from back injuries to playing for India have done well in the last 1 year. Hopefully it turns out the same for Deepak Chahar as well. Hardik Pandya, of course. All he needs to do right now is find another IPL franchise, become the captain and win that IPL. Given that we'll have probably 4 or 5 IPLs this year, seems like a very realistic possibility.
CSK captaincy slot also. Yeah. Available.
Wait, MS is still playing, right?
At this point, as relevant as MS-DOS, but yeah, he's carrying on.
Command prompt. Something.
Commando prompt.
Chops has been waiting for all of us to shut up to say
Yeah, sorry.
Actual cricket.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about what's happening with David Warner, but it's probably a sign of shitfest that is going to descend on us very soon with respect to the scheduling of international cricket. There have been threats, veiled threats and not so veiled threats about the IPL becoming really long. The other thing that has happened in which IPL is at the center is there are new leagues that are coming up in South Africa and in UAE. Owners of IPL teams have either purchased the rights to all the teams or some of the teams in these two leagues, and both of them are going to happen later this year. Now the UAE league is going to happen pretty much the exact same time as the Big Bash League in Australia, and the contracts that Cricket Australia has with the players do not allow them to take NOCs for leagues other than IPL. They've made exceptions for PSL in the past, but like IPL is where it all started. And
what
this
is
year
the UAE league though? Nittins has already landed there and stirred up the pot. Is it like this a new league?
Sanjumon captaining all 6 franchises.
UAE league is the South Africa league, is it?
No.
The
It's
South
different.
Africa league is different. The South Africa league is the one where Jay-Z has some business.
His company is running it along with Supersport. Yeah.
Yeah. UAE league is a separate league. I mean, it's just one of those new leagues that are coming up, and it's a T20 league though. Warner is not going to get a straight NOC, which means he might have to break rank with Cricket Australia and that contract that he has with them, which allows him to play cricket for Australia. And the other guy who's going to have to do that is Chris Lynn, who doesn't have a contract with Cricket Australia anymore because he's very frequently injured. The deal that Cricket Australia has with these cricketers is that you can't take NOCs for other leagues until you're retired for like 2 seasons or something.
This is all a problem of the ownership, right? Like the state association still own the teams, which is very, very rare among T20 leagues. So they have pretty much ultimate control over the players. Like you cannot do that to, obviously, Reliance Industries, for example.
Wow, where did that come from? No? Like, as you just switched to your Geo 4G.
Maybe you should call our lawyers pretty soon. Yeah. So
that's
the
one
other
way
thing
to
that's-
actually get more listeners to this podcast, right? Like,
We should call it education for all.
Yeah.
Free with Geo subscription. Cool.
maybe they'll sponsor us for all we know.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happening is that IPL, I think Tim Wigmore wrote this piece. IPL teams or the owners of IPL teams now want to have like a multi-country franchise. A team in the US, a team in South Africa, a team in West Indies. And they want to have 12-month contracts with players, which essentially says that you are going to play for us across these 4 leagues. In between, we will give you time off to play international cricket. As of now, who knows what's going to be the scene later. And the thing with Warner is, even back in 2017, when the last deal between the cricketers and Cricket Australia was finalized after a very, very protracted negotiation period in which there was almost a danger of the next Ashes series being cancelled, he was at the center of it. I mean, it was him who said that we may not have an Ashes. And there is enough and more, conspiracy theory stuff going around Twitter and other social media that it was Warner, who was at the center of it, and that is why he was made the scapegoat of the scandal that was Sandpaper Gate.
Yeah.
And so he's
very
going to
famously
be-
the scapegoat, not the escape goat, which for decade-long followers of Australian cricket. That was Shane Watson, right?
Yeah. Speaking of rumor and gossip, this is more from other podcasts. Hello, great cricketer, and a little bit of industry rumors about the whole UAE league. So apparently, the rule is in the league you'll be allowed to play 9 overseas players out of 11, and you can have, I think, 12 out of a squad of 15, which is obviously
Who are
counter to
the-
what
Who are the inner seas players? Like,
Is Sultan Zarawani still
Sultan
playing for you?
Zarawani. Oh shit.
he's the manager of a team, I'm sure, right? Potentially, God knows. But anyway, because you can do this, usually these leagues don't get official ICC sanctions, which means like you don't get the anti-corruption unit there, you don't get umpires, your playing conditions don't need to be in line with the ICCs and so on. But this one has surprisingly got the ICC's official nod, presumably to create competition in the market or whatever. But the real reason / gossip seems to be that the owners of the UAE league are the ICC's landlords in Dubai, right? So this is the story.
Wow.
Could be true, may not be true, but this is
it's
what's
either
going
you
on.
run the league or we'll increase your rent, is it? Like proper Bombay scenes.
Bombay scenes, yeah.
This is the Sharjah shake the cricket world needs, I think.
Sharjah shake-up.
The other interesting thing which is happening is Dewald Brevis, who made a superb debut in the last IPL season, was or is in England playing for a second 11 Mumbai Indians team. They're touring around England, playing practice matches. There are lots of uncapped Indian guys who are also in that team, and maybe it's a sign of things to come about how IPL franchisees will pretty much lord over international cricket. It's perhaps a doomsday scenario, but this is something that Gideon Hay was mentioning. Over these past few years, a lot of international cricketers actually feel loyalty towards their IPL teams, IPL owners, etc. I mean, we may call them mercenaries for all we care, but I mean, they do feel actual loyalty towards them for.
All of us are loyal to our salary slip, star. That's
Exactly. So BBL has never needed to do much because it has always had the domestic audience, but it's trying to figure out a way to put in private capital and have a similar ownership model to the other leagues. But there again, they're wary of giving too much money to the Australian players themselves. Most of the high-paid slots are going to go to the foreign players through a draft. The money that was going to go to the players from the broadcast money that Cricket Australia receives from BBL, that has not gone up over a period of time, and therefore the players' salaries have also not gone up. So BBL might really face the brunt of things that are changing, and I mean, it could be like the start of something really, really revolutionary in cricket, and we'll have to wait and watch as to how it all pans out.
This has been quite a popular trend recently, right? Because increasingly, even before all of this drama, guys like Andre Russell were going off to Bangladesh because that league paid like 3 or 4 times more than the BBL. This is all true, right? Despite currency and everything, it pays way more than the BBL. And it has effectively become 40, 50 English county guys going for, deliverance from the English winter to Australia. So they go there, spend 2.5 months. And fittingly, this week, BBL put out an infographic of about 70 English names, like literally like 70, 80 English names, who have registered for the draft. So that's basically it. It's Aussie domestic players, the occasional Glenn Maxwell, plus the whole of the English county system. Yeah. Guys who are trying to eventually get to the IPL. So that's what it's become.
Yeah, and I think this is this one. Jared Kimber was managing one of the teams in the West Indies League, where again IPL owners have teams. And he said one of the things they started doing before every season was to get all the squad to sit down and talk about what they wanted to achieve individually and as a group from the season. And he mentions how in one of those seasons, 9 out of 10 guys in the room said that they want to do well to pick up an IPL contract. And the meaning and the ramifications of an IPL contract, people who've been getting one for quite some time have done well, could well be very, very huge now.
I mean, just to understand, right, there are like 2 or 3 different aspects. One is obviously like you can say that the logical end to all of this is T20 leagues all the time across the world. But then we also have to say that, and that is sort of going to subsidize test cricket at some level. But then if we are going to say that these are 2 different sports, as it is very clearly is, and you will basically have specialists for T20 and tests, how do you square that off, right? Like if it's a different sport, why should T20 subsidize tests? Which means a virtual elimination of tests in at least in countries that are not looking at anything beyond how do we give our players enough money so that they don't go away, right? So which means your base structure itself is going to be like a New Zealand providing enough infrastructure, etc., is probably going to go away, right? And it means that you will ultimately not end up having cricketers from New Zealand because the infrastructure will go away, basically.
Yeah, you had to end with New Zealand not having any cricketers, right?
I mean, which not like they have currently, but like
I think, which is true. I was going to say, which is true right now. Couple of thoughts on this. Like, we're saying this is a death knell for something, whatever. But if it's death knell for endless Sri Lanka, Pakistan ODIs or India, Sri Lanka ODIs, may not be the worst thing in the world. Because like one thing about T20s is there was never a big enough talent pool to sustain a competition like the Champions League T20, which was there 10 years ago. But the hope is that some of these leagues become strong enough. Like if the South African league takes off and 7 of the players are local South Africans and the talent pool there broadens, that can compete with the best. You can have a tournament like that in the near future. I'm sure that's been thought of. That is also a revenue source for quite a few boards. New Zealand will be left out again because Otago Wolds will come with Scott Kugeline or whoever because they can't pay for overseas players. And also the best Kiwi stars or South African stars might still choose their IPL franchises over whoever, Cape Town Super Kings or someone else. So that's going to be interesting because if the IPL teams own all these leagues, then they might want to pool their resources across the board. So it is supreme chaos, but if it kills Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, bilateral, random assortment ODIs, may not be the worst.
So you're basically saying like contextless cricket, like Sri Lanka versus Pakistan, as opposed to extremely contextful cricket, which is T20, is it? Which we remember
Which is India, West
every
Indies.
single map of India, West Indies, India, Zimbabwe. but also
More
like-
than Test cricket, ODIs are likelier to die out because it's one of those neither here nor there formats, and it is very likely to die out.
But it's
Maybe-
also the only World Cup that counts, right? Like WTC is a joke. T20 World Cups are there pretty much every year. Submerged, sandwiched in between two IPLs. So, I don't
Oh,
know.
by the way, the next India-West Indies series is part of the ODI Super League. Or whatever.
Thank you. This
Shout
is
out
your
to
regular
Nitin Sundar.
announcement.
But wait, the Super League itself is retired, right? Like,
This is the last Super League, yeah.
yeah.
Not
in
so
a,
super anymore.
yeah, in a group of one, it was the superest Super League that existed.
Chops, you began your narration with Devolved Bravies playing for a second-string South African side, or Mumbai Indians.
So the Mumbai Indians.
Yeah. So, any reasons why he is not part of the regular South African squad that's touring England right now?
He is a fairly good player, but I think they have enough guys in that middle order slot, or in those middle order slots. This fellow Stubbs was amazing that day. I don't know how many of you actually watched it, but
Yeah.
he was too damn good. I
I
don't
didn't
know.
watch, but I just said yeah because it's cricket in England and I have to.
I think he got a 30 ball 70 or something. 8 sixes.
Yeah.
I think it
I
got
don't know.
Dale Steyn pretty excited, right? So they
Yeah,
have
Dale
two
Steyn.
really good young batsmen in Stubbs and Brevis. You know who else is excited? The Mumbai Indian fans. So imagine a middle order with Devolved Brevis, Stubbs and Tim David. And with the new ball you'll have Bumrah and Archer. Fabulous team. If only they
Oh,
can
nine-
make the playoffs.
9 overseas players, is it? There also?
If only they can make the playoffs.
Yeah. And Archer playing is like KL Rahul again, right? Like, will it happen? Won't it happen? No one knows. So it'll be
Only Archer knows. You'll find it in a tweet from 2012 or 2014.
But callback, Archer also is coming back from a back injury, and we have seen how these comebacks go. He'll do well.
You're clearly a fan of back injuries.
On that series, the first T20I was played in Bristol, and cricket returned to Bristol after almost 3
Which,
years.
wait, which T20 series?
England, South Africa, the first T20I. So the
Was
last
it the first
international
T20I of Australia, New Zealand, where they wore those throwback clothes and everything?
This is,
Oh, no, he's
the
talking
very
about this
first
week.
T20I.
No, he's talking about this week.
Odum's putting QM but as his
This is cricket this week, Thejaswi, not cricket through the ages.
No part points for you.
I heard it as the first T20I ever, so.
Yeah. You got it on the bounce, but we never let it bounce only, first of all. So that's only but I just have to say before something comes up, which is that Pradeep magazine had a chat with Amit Verma on the Seen and the Unseen, and he was basically talking about how back in the day journalists, even if they didn't watch the match, would just look at the scorecard and then make up the narrative as it went along, and how it's not possible these days. Clearly he hasn't heard this podcast where on average 1 out of 5 people watch the game and the rest are just making up stuff. Because like 30 ball 70 he scored, it was amazing. As if
I think Chops will probably kill me for this, but there's this whole story about Neville Cardis not going to a game and writing a report, and then they found out he was never at the match, right? And then he said, but what I said was not wrong, basically because he wrote it off the scorecard. So we are like the Neville Cardis of cricket.
amazing. Gary Neville only. Anyway.
Never say Neville.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah. Bristol, guys. So the last match here was the Australia-Afghanistan ODI World Cup game. So a couple of interesting facts about Bristol. With an arbit cutoff of 300 runs, this is the ground where Sachin averages the highest. He averages some 200 or something at this ground. Right?
Oh,
The
nice.
other
Interesting trivia about Bristol also. This is where Nitin Sundar interviewed Sachin Tendulkar for the first time.
I thought best bowling average should be Debashish Mohanty, 4 for 56.
Against England 99?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the ground where he got that unbeaten 140 versus Kenya post his father's demise in the 99 World Cup. Legendary game. I think the other two games were one was a century against Sri Lanka in the 2002 NatWest series, and the other thing was one of those million 99s he got out to in the mid 2000s. So yeah, a century followed by another century and a 99. So an average of more than 200.
Tony, did you just start recording?
No, that's fine. It's okay. We just need the scorecard. We'll make up the rest of the pod.
I was just Googling to see if I was right. It's basically when Neville Cardis wrote about a game that wasn't played, right? So,
UA T20 League.
which we have done with, the Gujarat IPL, right?
Yeah. But Vikas, if I may just ask, did you refer to him as Sachin and not Sachin Tendulkar? How dare you? Who do you think you are?
Sachin, sir.
I was in my
Not Sachin,
nappies
sir.
in the late 90s. Sorry, guys.
I think we should put out an advance apology for Marnus and Sachin fans. Whatever.
and we should hear helmet at the back also.
Yeah, for those of you who missed this, this is the kind of cricket that I follow, which is apparently Sachin Tendulkar had put out a tweet to which Marnus Labuschagne, like a normal person, responded with, "That's right, Sachin," and basically it pissed off a lot of Indian fans or whatever that species that exists on Twitter of Indians is, asking him how he can call him Sachin and not like Sachin sir or Mr. Tendulkar or one of those things. So
Indian fans clearly don't listen to podcasts, right? Like, so there's this famous Tailenders podcast run by the BBC. So Jimmy Anderson is part of the panel, Felix White, there's a couple of other guys. So are basically like radio host comedy guys.
Yeah.
So they found a guy who's somewhere actually from close to Bristol, Vikas. So he got on the pod. His name is Matt, and they found out somehow that he was related to Sachin through Anjali's mom, who's Anglo-Indian, right? So they call him Matchin. Right? So nobody went after the Tailenders for even breaking the name up. But we are getting all the
this is a good moral high ground to hold, right? Like dissing Indian cricket fans who don't listen to cricket podcasts, where clearly we don't even watch the matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
No sponsors, but no, we don't care.
So me becoming a host from a listener has effectively reduced your listener base by 20%. Yeah, and increase the host base by 15%.
Well done. That's like you look like you've done a lot of copra oil sales projection like this.
He's end of the month. Yeah, he knows how to make up numbers at the end of the month. Clearly, but because the key thing is for you to get your friend circle and family to listen to at least one podcast. That is how we keep the listenership going.
Absolutely.
Parachute into all your family groups with the podcast link.
Yeah. half the listenership of our podcast is the Sundars who listen to it on YouTube, on Spotify, everywhere. But
while studying chemistry.
I put it along with the good morning message, sun emoji, flower emoji for a key demographic in my family group.
I'm very proud of my reply to Sidvi, I think Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, who obviously said he put it out very seriously that entire stadiums in the 90s used to chant Sachin, and so how is it disrespectful to call him Sachin? And I replied to that saying he should have called him Tendliya sir as a matter of respect, and I think that ultimately ended up as being like the most popular name that everyone agreed to, who obviously do not belong to the same class of Indian fans as the ones who don't know anything.
And that's how Dravid became Jammy Sir, right? It's never Dravid. Rahul is a forbidden name on Indian Twitter, so basically left with Jammy Sir. So,
but wait, is the origin of Jammy Sir actually the Kisan ad, or is there something else to it? That's it,
The
literally.
origin of Jammy is his dad used to work for Kisan, which is how Kisan got him in that, because he already had the nickname.
Okay. This is a good segue into the Thejaswi Udappa facts section of this podcast.
Okay, some random questions I picked up from some PPT I found lying on my Google Drive. The match that happened in Jaipur was the second ODI of a pointless India-England bilateral ODI series. Nothing interesting happened in that match. We won. Vinod Kambli scored a century. It was his birthday as well. But why in the annals of Indian cricket history is this match kind of interesting? Nothing to do with what happened on the field, but something to do with off the field. So, Jan 18th, 1993.
Before you went for the timeline,
The timeline is what will help you figure this out.
yeah, no, as I said, before you went for the timeline, I thought this was Flintoff taking off shirt match, but no, it's not.
That happened at Bombay. Something to do with Lalit Modi winning Rajasthan Cricket Association elections or
No,
something.
nothing to do with Lalit Modi directly, though Lalit Modi himself would get involved in things like this a little later.
Is this the Harshad Mehta scam?
No, not the Harshad Mehta scan.
Was this the first ODI which was like whatever happened between Doordarshan and BCCI?
I thought it's the first match covered or match report on Cricinfo.
Not
probably
Cricinfo,
on
not
the right.
Cricinfo.
Okay, Wisden.
You started saying Doordarshan and all. That was the right
Oh,
answer.
that was Abhishek.
Oh, that was Chopra.
So I'm saying that essentially BCCI had to pay money to Doordarshan to broadcast cricket before this, and now BCCI actually ended up selling the rights to I don't know, WorldTel, Mark
Trans World International or something.
World
Yeah, it's okay. I'll give you some points and close it.
Some-
This is essentially the first match that was shown on live broadcast on satellite television. So Prime Sports was the only sports channel that had all those five satellite channels had launched in January '93, and this was the first time ever people got to see a cricket match on TV, which was not Doordarshan.
Prime Sports famously still holds rights to New Zealand cricket in India. So I just wanted
Really?
to say that.
It's the same Prime.
Amazon
Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Oh my god. Srinath, this is what happens when you have a very high signal to noise ratio. Your jokes get missed.
All right. One of the nicknames Angus Fraser had was Volvo. Why was he called Volvo?
Very safe.
Not to do with safety. Think of something that you'd associate with cricket only. Think of the kind of bowling Fraser would do most of the time.
Smooth action.
Not smooth action.
He was very upright and stiff while delivering the ball. I mean, does that have to do some
No.
Volvo sleeper buses or something?
Volvo sleeper buses are only a South Indian phenomenon. I don't think the rest of the world cares about Volvo sleeper buses.
He was.
Does he
Angus
come to an
Fraser was-
abrupt stop at the end of his run-up or something?
Angus Fraser was built like an Airbus.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
What do you do with a Volvo?
Drive it.
Therefore,
His
so
cover
Angus
drive was
Fraser
like a
used to
Volvo.
essentially pitch up quite a bit, trying to get that swing movement, which meant that he was easy to drive. So that's how his
Oh,
nickname became Volvo.
Wow.
Nice.
nice.
Wow, lovely.
Okay, staying with drives, there is one particular cover drive which is essentially where you play it off the back foot and you're putting your entire weight on the back foot, and therefore the front leg at the moment you play the shot ends up kind of going above the ground and being bent at the knee, kind of a thing. So what is this version? Both the Chappell brothers were very famous for playing it. Nowadays, not too many people drive off the back foot, but what is this version of the cover drive usually called? Because of
Nataraja
how
cover
the
drive.
batsman ends up looking.
Is it the Nataraja cover drive?
Not the Nataraja cover drive. Very,
The-
yeah,
sorry,
just
Then
similar to how
19.
Nataraja shot gets its name.
Yeah.
But this was named by the English players, so
Is it called the Atherton?
not the Atherton. To think of what will end up looking like at the end of the shot.
Flamingo.
Flamingo is right. It's called a flamingo drive. Right? Whoever said that.
Oh, there's also what Flamingo back defense, which is Trent Bolt.
Trent Bolt, yes.
And KP is, I think the pull was called the Flamingo because of how he stood like that. Yeah.
Which international stadium in India, and it's probably the only such stadium in the whole world, was essentially built through crowdfunding. So essentially all locals bought ₹1 lottery tickets, and the sales from this lottery tickets was used to build this ground. I'll give you an additional, throw in an
Somewhere
additional
in the
hint, otherwise we'll
northeast.
keep guessing Indian stadiums. This is also the only Indian stadium which is inside an ASI protected structure.
I don't know, but I just remember.
I'll say Firod Shah Kotla.
Not Firod Shah Kotla, good guess, because sounds like Kotla might be ASI protected and so.
Is it the?
The-
No, it's not. That's
Is it
The
like a
Gwalior
recently
Stadium.
inaugurated stadium?
Hmm?
Is it like a recently
Very old.
inaugurated stadium?
No, it's been around for a while.
The KD Singh Babu Stadium in
Not
Gwalior.
the Kiri Singh Babu Stadium.
too much knowledge on this podcast, man. Wow, love it.
Or lack of.
I mean, whenever you see the stadium on TV, you'll also always see a kind of a historic looking structure. You'd know that it's kind of associated with the monument.
This is not Dharamshala, right?
It's not Dharamshala.
Not Kumar Dharamshala.
Any more clues, Tejaswi, about the ground or what happened there in some matches?
Okay, I'll give you the starting letter of the stadium. Starts with B.
Barabati.
Barabati Stadium.
Barabati is right. Well done. It was Barabati in
Nice.
Qatar.
Did not know it.
Tony Greig, who was the captain of England in '75, and they'd come back from a bunch of series losses and everything. Back then, captains were also kind of had a lot of influence in selecting the team. And there were two tours coming up. One was to Australia, one was to West Indies, both of which had a lot of fast bowlers. So he wanted to essentially find the best English player who could stand up to fast bowling. And so he employed a particular method. Instead of having a discussion kind of a thing, he employed a particular method of finding out who in the county circuit is the best person to face fast bowling. So what was this interesting method that he applied? And who was that got selected? This guy is famously known as the bank clerk who went to war.
The bank clerk is David Steele.
Yeah, David Steele got selected. So David Steele was never even in the consideration. And if you remember, he got selected pretty late in his career. He was almost on the verge of retiring from first class. He suddenly got a international call. So how did David Steele end up getting selected? So what did Tony Greig do?
A lot of West Indian pacers were playing county cricket at that time for different counties. And so he got a statistician to work out who did the best against those very pacers.
Nice logical guess, but I don't think back then cricketers believed too much in stats. And
He asked some fast bowlers who was like the hardest to get out or whatever, something like that, right?
Some
you're
survey.
now getting warmer. He didn't ask a set of fast bowlers. He asked a different set of people.
Did he ask all the umpires?
That's the right answer. So the entire set of people who had umpired matches in the first class county circuit, he got them to say, of all the players you watched in this season, who do you think was the best player of fast bowling? And apparently Boycott came up on tops, and the second name was a name that he'd never heard of, which was David Steele. He said, okay, fine, we are getting this guy.
Kumara Dharamsena likes this.
This is a little too stats heavy, but we might as well try. These are the only three players to have achieved this very interesting, almost goody stats kind of a stat. Kapil Dev, when he dismissed Mohsin Khan at Gandhi Stadium in 1983. Imran Khan when he dismissed Sunil Gavaskar at the Savai Mansingh Stadium in 1987. And Suranga Lakmal when he dismissed Chris Gayle at Palakele.
Sorry, what? So is there something common to these three dismissals?
Yes, these are the only three instances of something happening.
Is it a particular type of dismissal?
No, nothing to do with the type of dismissal.
First ball.
Okay. Yes, these were all the first balls of those matches, but there's something more.
Did they pick up a wicket of the last ball of the last match and first ball of the next match? Something like
No.
What are the venues in this? This
So,
is,
Kapil Dev was at the Gandhi Stadium, 1983.
It was on first Jan. First ball
the
of
first-
the year.
Not first ball of the year. Imran Khan
first
dismissing.
ball.
first
First
ball
ball
in
at
those
that
stadiums.
Yes, that's the right answer. First ever ball bowled in a test match in that particular venue, also resulting in a wicket. So these are the only three instances.
This is all Test cricket, right?
All test cricket, all test cricket.
Yeah, the venue sounded quite random, man. Like the Gandhi Stadium stuff was like proper throwback. That was why like
Where is
That
it?
was the direction.
Where is it though?
Yeah, Gandhi famously only has roads. Jawaharlal Nehru has all the stadiums. So
Yeah.
Even I have forgotten where Gandhi Stadium was. But I don't think too many matches happened in that venue.
this is Devang Gandhi Stadium.
Built in 1999.
Gandhi Stadium was Jalandhar apparently.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So Viv Richards' autobiography is hitting across the line. Who interestingly wrote the foreword to it? Somebody not from cricket, if it helps, but somebody who has connections
say-
with Antigua.
Nina
We'll say
Gupta.
Bob
Nina
Marley.
Gupta.
Nina Gupta.
Not
Nina
Bob Marley.
Gupta.
No, not Nina Gupta. She has connections with Viv, not with Antigua.
Not Rihanna. She's Barbados.
So nice. Like,
No, this is a
what
very
about
old
Bond?
book. Hitting
Old
Across the
book.
Line came out like some nearly 2 decades ago.
Okay, sorry. Like,
Bob Marley.
Is this someone from
Bob
some
Marley
other
is
sport?
Jamaican, nothing to do with Antigua.
Is it someone from some other sport?
Not from other sport, there's someone from the world of music. And he's not a West Indian, he's a Britisher.
Clearly,
And
we'd all do really badly
in the news for all the
sports
wrong
and-
reasons these days.
We'd do really badly in a sports and entertainment quiz. So, well played, guys.
spent. We are spent.
Mick Jagger.
Not Mick Jagger, that's a good guess. He does get involved
Bob
with
Dylan.
cricket quite a bit. Not Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is American, I wouldn't call him a Britisher.
Oh, is it?
Sorry, you said he's in the news for wrong reasons these days.
Yeah, last couple of years he's been in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Clapton.
Clapton is right, well done. Because he's been
Proper,
holding out against COVID-19 vaccine and
Yeah.
really being a dick.
Oh, what's the link between him and Viv?
Clapton stayed in Antigua for quite a while. His rehab center is in Antigua, which he started
okay.
there.
Clapton is also what they did
If you say
when
so.
Viv hit a boundary.
It was a Clapton's innings.
Every 100 was.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Viv and Clapton were good friends. So when Viv wrote the autobiography, he got Clapton to write the foreword.
Oh, nice. Anything else that we need to talk about on the pod?
Second test of the Pakistan Sri Lanka test series was a good one for Sri Lanka. This fellow Dhananjay De Silva has been threatening to come back to form for quite some time. Has never done it earlier or hasn't done it so far. But yeah, I mean, this test he actually came good. Played a very, 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 very good-looking innings as that. And then, yeah, I mean, it was just the Prabhat Jayasuriya show once again. And I don't know how that guy is doing it. It's one of those dream debuts, as we alluded to at the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, I mean, may his career go much farther than Hirvani's. I think it's also very cool how cool or not, I don't know, but till the last day of the test, because of all the tests we've been having in the recent months, even though I think the target was some stupid 450 odd runs or something, nobody was ruling out a Pakistan win. It was not even that they were saying it's going to be a draw, but they were not even ruling out a Pakistan win because Abdullah Shafiq had done what he had done in the test before that. Babar and Rizwan had a really cool partnership against Australia in the home series. All baseball related stuff had happened in England. So yeah, it just felt very different to go into a fifth day knowing that, as Ravi Shastri would love to say, all 4 results are possible when the target to be chased is whatever 450 plus. So yeah, happy for Sri Lanka. Cricket came back in a big way, but yeah, I don't know why suddenly they've taken the Asia Cup now away from them. If they could host 2 full series for 2 teams, I could have well done Asia Cup also. But yeah, somehow that's gone to UAE. Maybe because the landlords have had a say again.
Also worth noting is Chandimal's return to form. After a long time, he's consistently playing well now. Both the series he did very well.
Yeah, and out of nowhere, Angelo Matthews has completed 100 tests. I mean, nobody got to know, and he has. So yeah.
With his broken back.
Hashtag silver ball, guys. Silver ball.
Silver ball, perfect. Meanwhile, in the WTC table, India has jumped back to 4th place above Pakistan. So I think rightist chest beating for all the gorillas in the mist, as it were. But Sri Lanka now have to play New Zealand away. Srinath, you'll be looking forward to, because it basically, I don't.
It's a rare.
Yeah.
Rare opportunity for a victory. Yeah. Speaking of which, Netherlands, New Zealand is next weekend, so you'll have all the live coverage from the ground the week after.
Whether or not you watch the match, right?
Yeah. The game was actually on the Saturday, the coming Saturday, and then they preponed the game by a day without informing ticket buying spectators because New Zealand's flight got cancelled, right? So and then my friend who I'm going with pings me, hey, did you not book for Saturday? And then we're going on the Friday now, so such is life. But New Zealand might not have enough players because of the flight situation. So yeah. There is hope.
There is some flightless Kiwis, flying Dutchman, something.
Exactly. Exactly.
But how many Dutch people need to get injured for you to get a chance to play Srinath? That's what we are interested in.
Two or three. Already we have we have Vikramjit Singh already. So yeah, I wouldn't be out of place.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 people just need to go to the UAE league or something, and you're in. We might watch you play.
Or county cricket.
New Zealand has not gone home since when, man? Like, don't they have homes to go back to?
Same equinox stuff as Ian Higgins says. It's winter in down under, right? So
for them also, their actual landlords are bugging them to pay. They have to go out and play to make money, basically.
It's like they have been in England or thereabouts since the last WTC.
I think I was mentioning it on the group before. It's like Devon Conway, but literally within England. Like they're traveling Europe like Devon to Conway and so on.
Where is Jimmy Neesham though? Is he part of the squad or is he like
on Twitter?
He's on Twitter trolling people.
He's just an NFT on Twitter now. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Neesham or Poche. Okay.
So Tony, what are the probable finalists looking like for this WTC?
It has to be
India Pakistan.
Australia
Has to be
versus
India Pakistan.
What?
Has to be India Pakistan.
What?
Yes. A random conspiracy theory doing the internet that it'll all conspire to make it an India Pakistan final.
No, it's definitely going to be Australia versus India, unless like India like fuck up really badly in some way, shape or form, or like basketball fizzes out. But otherwise, I think Australia versus India is a virtual guarantee. Let's see. But again, like this and the next WTC finals is in Lords, so I don't know if that's a good thing.
How stupid that is! I mean, why would you not host it in at least one of the 2 countries, man? Like,
So we can have another
neutral,
6th day finished. That's why.
6th day finish and neutral ground, because like England anyway doesn't have a chance of making it to the final, so might as well take it there. And I'm guessing all like other World Cup finals are going to be in Ahmedabad anyway, so WTC we are not too keen on, so that's where it lands. Cool. So I think on that note, we've rambled on over two Zoom conversations. Some of it has been recorded. The rest will.
in two Zoom conversations in a nod to Test cricket's 2 innings.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Wow.
Before we need to come back, no one needs to come back for the 6th day, so we should just call it quits now. All right, thank you. This has been Bits and Pieces, episode 30. Thank you so much for all of you who listen and spread the word and share the love. Until next week, signing off. Say bye, guys. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye bye.